Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning to all of you. It is an honor for me to welcome all of you to here in GCCM 2023, and for Oman to host this very distinguished gathering of telecom operators, hyperscalers, technology providers, and leaders from different organizations in beautiful city of Muscat. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Your Excellency, Dr. Ali bin Amir Al-Shaydani, Under Secretary of Communication and Information at the Ministry of Transport, Communication and Information Technology of Oman. Your Excellency, we are truly humbled for your presence in this opening ceremony of GCCM 2023. I'll have some history of Omantel, where we started, and then we'll talk about what we are doing. So as Omantel, we started our journey in wholesale some 15 years ago, where at that time, we were relying on other international operators to fulfill our international requirements, be it submarine cable system, or be it the voice network or the signaling and the messaging. It was a time where we had a number of concerns, issues within Oman. And we were definitely relying on other operators to resolve our issues. But this has changed. We have come a long way since then, thanks to the vision and support from the government of Oman, the regulator, the TRA of Oman, the board of directors of Omantel, and under the vice leadership of Sheikh Talal Al-Mamri, we started our journey some 15 years ago in wholesale industry. We started from 2010, merely a very small wholesale operator today, where we are providing international and internet connectivity services, hosting hyperscalers in Oman, providing state-of-the-art messaging mobility services to different people in the world. And we are someone in the region who are providing services to most of the countries around us. Looking at the past, I recall, when I joined in 2010, I recall a very regular asked question to us when we were meeting our counterparts internationally. Who is Omantel and where is Oman? And I can tell you that we spent almost half of our meeting answering this question. However, the landscape have dramatically changed. It has shifted since then. Today, the name of Omantel resonates globally, synonymous with excellence and innovation in the wholesale sector. I can proudly say that our transformation has close to phenomenal, positioning us in the preferred partner that every global player wants to collaborate with. Our journey wasn't simple and not was only simply increasing our revenues. It was about fulfilling the vision that we and Omantel had it with the government of Oman. We have been evolving continuously. We have capitalized on Oman's strategic geographical location and have invested pivotal into building an advanced and self-sufficient global network. From a modest presence in 2010, our footprint now encompasses investment in more than 20 subsea cable systems. We have around 100 plus interconnects internationally. We have connected to 700 plus partners for the roaming services. And we have state-of-the-art neutral data center in partnership with Equinix, which is the largest data center company in the world. We have built a data center in Muscat in 2020. And then today, we are building another data center in Salalah that is going to be up and running by Q2 next year. The world's leading hyperscalers, without going into the names, and content providers now choose Oman, particularly due to the expertise of our highly competent team and the robust infrastructure that we have cultivated. What's next for us? Keeping in mind the long-term vision, and in order for us to grow further into the region and beyond, our proudest milestone was in wholesale front, was to set up a joint venture between Omantel, Zen Group, and Zen KSA. Earlier this year, we signed a shareholder agreement and we created a company called Zen Omantel International, also known as ZOI. This joint venture has expanded our horizon This joint venture has expanded our horizon beyond Oman in 7 other countries. And those countries are Oman, obviously, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Jordan, Sudan, and South Sudan. This makes us a wholesale operator in 8 countries in the region. And our aim is to replicate all what we have achieved in Oman and replicate the same into these other additional 7 countries. In short, Zoe is a result of synergies of wholesale expertise with a reach of 7 additional countries and more than 55 million subscriber base, giving an unmatched characteristics and capabilities. Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, this is what we are doing in Zoe. We are building a pan-Middle East network that will be connecting Oman with Saudi Arabia, connecting into UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, going all the way to Iraq, Jordan, connecting Syria and Lebanon. Not only from the terrestrial network, but we are also building submarine cable system. It is not merely a presentation. Out of this network, which is spanning around 10,000 kilometers of a new fiber optic network, we have completed close to 3,000 kilometers, and that has been handed over to us. By the end of 2024, we are targeting to complete 7,000 kilometers of a network. Part of this journey, we have recently landed a submarine cable in September 2023 in Jeddah. We call it J2M, Jeddah to Marseille cable system. In October 2023, we landed, as part of this plan, we landed another cable system in Salalah called IEX, India-Europe Express. This is what it looks like for Zain Omantel International, connecting the whole region, keeping Oman in the center of everything. Your Excellencies and the distinguished guests, this is an honor for me to stand over here and tell you that this is what we are going to achieve by 2025. Today, we are around $480 million revenue company. And by 2025, we will be touching around $1 billion. We will not only be providing data services, but we will also be providing data centers. So we will be building data centers in all the 7 other additional OPCOs countries, connecting them to each other through this network and through the submarine network. We will have, by 2025, landing another 4 submarine cable systems in Salalah, in Muscat, and in Saudi Arabia and Sudan. As we move forward, I humbly acknowledge our roots, the challenges we have overcome, the learnings that we had during the journey, and the heights we are destined to reach. It remains our sole mission and that of my entire team, sitting over here, most of them, to continually expand and elevate this legacy. GCCM event is part of the same vision of bringing not only the business and networks into Oman, but also people, companies into Oman. And now our other OPCOs countries as well. We are gathered here for GCCM, which definitely I can tell you with an experience of around 26 years, that this is not merely another conference, but it is an experience. GCCM provides a bridge between the past, the present, and the future of telecom. The insightful executive panels, discussions, presentations, the meetings provide an unparalleled platform for growth and innovation. And not to forget the masterclass initiative. These masterclasses, which are steered globally by the industry gurus who delve deep into the most recent advancement in fiber optic cables and subsea cables in the niche. These sessions set the GCCM apart from any other telecom events in the region, making them a hallmark of our conference. An event like this doesn't come overnight. That is why I also want to express my deepest gratitude to the team who gathered and brought this, an excellent event, into Oman over several months of work. With us, Smith, the Carrier Community CEO, Sheikh Talal Mamri, CEO of Omantel, and the team, and especially the marketing and Marcom team in Muscat as well as in Berlin. Thank you all. I also encourage all of you, especially who are new, to please spend some of your free time going around our beautiful country, beautiful city, and please feel the multicultural nation of Oman. Once again, I would like to thank His Excellency Dr. Ali Al-Shadani, Undersecretary of Communication and Information, Honorable Dr. Hamad Al-Rawahi, Sheikh Talal Al-Mamri, CEO of Umantel, distinguished guest. Thank you very much for being here. And good luck with all the meetings and sessions ahead over to the next 2 days.
Thank you very much, Suhail, for the presentation. My name is Tolga Yalçın. I am a Senior Research Manager in IDC. So I'm in the sector for around 20 years, starting with around 10 years at Turkish regulator. And in the last 10 years, I'm in the region, working at IDC and also some telecom operators. So I'd like to invite all the panelists here for our panel, and we will start with the presentation from Virginie. Please applaud for all the panelists.
Here we are. Thank you, Tolga. And thank you, Sohil Kadir, for this insightful perspective, and Mabruk for the global telecom powerhouse you're building in the Middle East region and as a gateway connecting Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Thank you. If you pay attention, the first word in my slide is turbocharging. It's buzzword, but I stole that from my husband who works in automotive. And as a majority of you all in this room know, turbocharging is a technology used in internal combustion engine to increase power and efficiency. And I think we all are in this room turbochargers for scaling the digital connectivity and the innovation in the Middle East region. I am Virginie Holbeck, and I'm the Vice President and General Manager of EMEA at Ciena. And for those who doesn't know Ciena yet, we are the leading manufacturer who provides connectivity from a transport network perspective, from an hardware, software, and services side, to provide connectivity on the earth and under the sea. So let me share with you why we always believed and believe in the Middle East region, which, simply said, strategically connects the east and the west side of the world. So the wholesale sector is undergoing a significant transformation due to various factors such as technology advancements, regulatory changes, and evolving customer demand. And we'll see later that some factors present both challenges and opportunities for business and investments in the short term. And I know that Tolga Yalçın will go furthermore in details in those mega trends that you are more and more familiar with. So the Middle East, we said it, is playing an increasingly vital role in shaping the future of connectivity and digital innovation, and on a global scale. So all those megatrends are important, but I will double click maybe on some in our context of wholesale. Rising cloud adoption and data center expansion. Like any other region in the world, the Middle East has witnessed and continues to benefit from a significant increase in cloud adoption. The estimated public cloud services market in the Middle East is growing by more than 20% CAGR. Likewise, the emerging technologies, IoT, digital transformation, AI, it makes new waves, including in the Middle East region. By 2030, the Middle East is expected to accrue 2% of the global benefits of AI, equally approximately $320 billion investment contributing to the regionals and the economies. Of course, all underpinned by a focus on sustainability, where power and space are paramount. Naturally, at Ciena, we are at the forefront of innovation and technology. And we identified actually since many years already that there will be a blurring demarcation between terrestrial network, data center, and subsea networks. All those are more and more tied together, creating a sort of connectiviverse, if you like. Hence, we have been always a big believer at Ciena in this region, and we are playing local by leveraging global. And by global, I mean leveraging global relationships with the international data center providers, the content service providers like the hyperscalers or wave scalers, depending on how we call them, and also the global subsea, to anticipate but also to influence new cable build. Now, prerequisites for digitization are being built at breakneck speed. And the prerequisites are infrastructure. So let me share, just look at the commitments which are already on the way. So first, from a subsea perspective, global subsea networks are crucial for the world connectivity. And the Middle East is crucial for the worldwide subsea backbone. Traffic coming to Europe from the Middle East is about 180 terabits of traffic versus 10 times in the transatlantic. What does it mean? It means that the potential for growth is still enormous. So Middle East and Oman, in particular, are experiencing significant build activity. A total of 81 new fiber pairs will land in Oman in the coming years. UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, KSA, and Egypt are similarly growing exponentially as well. A total of 77 fiber pairs will be built through the Red Sea. Actually, due to the importance of the global subsea, I'm pleased I will be joined by Thomas Sorensen, our VP Solution of Global Subsea at Ciena. Now, on the data center front, key data center providers have established a strong presence across the region, responding to the increasing demand for locally served cloud services. But let's be honest, cloud activity is still nascent here and also across the world. The number of cloud services or the services who move to the cloud is still nascent. So the growth is still here and enormous in front of us. As submarine capacity and routes interconnect the region to the rest of the world, and as data centers grow, there is a huge boost in the terrestrial fiber investment. And the development is huge in the wholesale market as well. So the future, I think, is in pan-regional networks, which connect internationally. such as that offered by Zoe, who are uniquely positioned to serve that kind of market. Additionally, there is a new expectation, or at least an expectation of new demands on automation, standardization, sustainability, and consistency in services. So as the region cloudifies, we know from experience elsewhere in the world that the demand on the infrastructure will grow exponentially. As I said, the next wave is to be in terrestrial connectivity with end-to-end capabilities. So why is this so significant? For a start, and Sohail said it, it's not happening overnight. So it's at the back of decade of innovations. So we should look at it from both a technical but also a commercial perspective. More than ever, end-to-end business automation and security are becoming important. And the technology plays a key role in enabling this trend. So from our side at Ciena, our DNA is about scalability and competitiveness while caring for the environment. Each generation of our technology reduced by about 50% of power and space. And just in the last decade, we've had 3 generations of new modems to light the fibers. So I let you do the math. Added to that, I think technology needs to promote openness. And that's the only way to support collaboration and innovation as well. And as I said, end-to-end capabilities. But actually, in that context, line system remain very important. Some trends are very well exploited in the subsea market. And now we start to see them in terrestrial, but vice versa. So while, as an example, something like spectrum sharing, it could have been seen just as a simple alien wave strategy. But in fact, it's taking the form where control and management of full end-to-end is the most important thing, hence openness. So on the business model perspective, let's be honest, on the web plans, the open cable have revitalized the wholesale market, provided again opportunity for collaboration and investment. Again, our technology is largely behind the scene to help support the service providers in the Middle East, the cable operators, and also the hyperscalers who are investing a lot as well. And we help those parties form the commercial structure between one another. And we are still in the learning curve as an ecosystem all in this room. So in a nutshell, we have an eye on the future, and we need to keep that in mind. We, and I personally believe that pan connectivity is critical. So we think that people who will survive in the industry will be the one who own digital infrastructure, actually. So we think that people who will have the infrastructure asset will be very well positioned. And of course, it will require investment. And that's why cloud is also very important from a cost perspective, but also a scale and efficiency. So the region is poised for digitization, creating employment, creating opportunities, and transforming lives with all the benefits that offers to its population. So Ciena, we have been in the Middle East throughout innovation, and we aim high in this region, and we intend to continue to play a key role in this ecosystem that we are building together. very excited to be in this journey, and we want to be a strong turbocharger for the Middle East region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Virginie. So I will also take you around 10 minutes with some of the key trends in the telecommunications sector. So I'd like to start with a regulatory view. So how we came through over the last 40 years through different regulations. So how we moved from traditional telecom regulation all the way to ICT regulation. And today, especially over the last few years, we are talking about digital regulation. So these regulations shaped the way of the telecommunications sector, either with incumbent operators or the challengers that were competing with them, and also the market analysis with the defining the significant market power from different operators. So as you know, after 2000, we started to become more than from telecom to ICT regulators, as we see in several countries in Europe, in our region. With this, discussing about the wholesale regulations, improving the competition, and also introducing new kind of technologies with spectrum allocations like 3G and the others. And since 2010, we started to focus more on the new kind of areas like regulatory holidays to improve the investments, to enable investments from different sectors. In the regulatory space, we were discussing M2M on those days, which evolved into IoT. And since 2020, we are talking about digital techs from an OECD level, from a G20 discussions, and also with the big tech, how the digital markets can be regulated, how the digital services can be regulated, and also looking for more collaborative regulation as we focus on the digital transformation in different verticals. And based on this, as we see, telecom ecosystem is also transforming from Telco 1.0 to Telco 2.0. And in this ecosystem, the wholesale is becoming more and more dynamic with the futuristic approach, with the capacity on demand solutions, and so on and so forth. As we see, traditionally, wholesale was also interdependent with other departments in telecom operators, but only for cross-subsidy checks, retail services with simple telecommunication services. Today, as the consumer units and the business units are providing more and more digital services, they are also more interdependent with the wholesale departments, which are also providing these services like cybersecurity or some of the services like IoT platforms on the wholesale level. Surely it is a crowded slide, but just we want to provide you the view that we see how the telecom ecosystem is transforming and how we are moving to Telco 2.0. So with this, as we are moving to Telco 2.0, we see that wholesale ecosystem is also moving from 1.0 to 2.0. So rather than traditional customers that we always work with, like ISPs, MVNOs, we are moving to new kind of customers, new kind of solutions and service model with the next generation customers. On the other hand, we see rather than standard products, we are focusing more on the customizable products, as you see from the several areas. We discussed the SD-WAN wavelength solutions for IoTs, also IoT platforms at the wholesale level. And as I mentioned, rather than other licensed operator, alternative voice provider or ISPs, now wholesale ecosystem is mostly developing with the new kind of solutions for hyperscalers, for gaming platforms, or for CDNs and other type of new kind of wholesale buyers. So just I would like to give some examples on the next generation demand examples, the demands for wholesale ecosystem. Some of them we see the corporate-led, as you know, with the accelerated cloud adoption, we see more and more focus on multi-cloud networking on several areas. As you can see, from distribution to experience, from integration to having a secure and on-demand services, corporate adoption of cloud services is accelerating the wholesale opportunities for telecom operators, for capacity providers. And another one, as we see, is that human-led. Human-led, not only as we do today with the video streaming on the social media or other by the personal usage, we see the gaming ecosystem also growing and diversifying, providing new opportunities for most of the telecom operators at the capacity level. As you see, this is our global gaming tracker, one of them. Here we are focusing on cloud streaming gaming hours. And as per our global forecast, we see that especially on the mobile, cloud streaming gaming hours will increase, also followed by the PC and the other TV-based gaming. We are expecting more than 14 billion of gaming hours used. As you know, the console games like PlayStation and Xbox, they are also leaving them to cloud streaming gaming. So you don't need a console even with the cloud. You will only need your TV with the controllers. So these will also increase more and more the demand for capacity for the capacity providers, for the wholesalers. On the other hand, the other one, as we discussed metaverse a lot last year, but it is not being commoditized now. And as per our forecast, total AR/VR headsets shipments will be around 30 million in 2027. So it started in 2016, 2017. I was one of the early adopters as buying VR headsets. However, the maturity of the ecosystem is not there. As we see how internet grown further with the smartphones, we will need more and more affordable AR/VR headsets and more higher quality AR/VR headsets and better applications for this ecosystem to grow faster. So another one is machine-led. It is not only for IoT, as we all know. IoT, especially with the 5G, will accelerate further demand for the capacity. But also at the global level at IDC, we are looking for the we are tracking the autonomous vehicle shipments. So as you see, there are several levels of autonomy. And when we are looking at the full autonomy, which is the level 3, we expect that only to pick up after 2026. As still the technology is immature, we are seeing half autonomous vehicles mostly being in the market. But with the full autonomy, when it is triggered, we will see these examples after 2026. So coming to the end, what we see, especially in our region, in the META region, we have an enriching ecosystem with several inflection points. We see more and more focus on policy and regulations to enable competition, to attract the hyperscale investments, other digital players' investments in our region. Digital hub initiatives, as we see in several countries, they are increasing their focus to be the connectivity hub for several services. On the other hand, cloudification, as we mentioned, cloud adoption is accelerated in our region with the interest of OTT players over the last 4 or 5 years coming to some of the GCC countries. Another key part is, the localization of interconnection. So with the players like Equinix, Dekix, some other Amsterdam Internet Exchange and several Internet Exchange player and DC operators investing on the region, localization of interconnection is another key point to be focused on. On the other hand, as Sohail mentioned, infrastructure development, several telecom operators are increasing their initiatives, not only on the terrestrial side, in the national domestic side, but also the international submarine cable system, which will be very important, including the last mile, edge and far edge for the low latency and high capacity services. And the last one, as you know, the price erosion, as we all know, in our region, with the infrastructure-based competition, with the economies of scale due to the increased utilization, we see price erosion in our region for the wholesale services. However, still our region wholesale prices are somewhat higher than areas like Europe or Asia Pacific. The reason for is that even in those regions in Europe, Asia Pacific, US, price erosion continues with the increased utilization. So it is a natural trend with the increased use of wholesale services and increased use of telecom capacity provisions. And looking at the ecosystem in our region, if we see META as a global connectivity hub with GCC initiatives, with Turkey, with the Africa on the South Africa region, as we see new capacity investments from Africa region, This will develop from several ecosystem players. As policymakers and regulators are focusing on enabling competition, hyperscalers, CDNs, gaming platforms, they will increase their interest to reduce latency and improve the quality of service. On the other hand, data center operators and internet exchange providers are developing a local ecosystem, partnering with telecom operators and other ecosystem players. And also, we see telecom operators, they are trying to ensure to readiness of this state-of-the-art infrastructure and also monetize this end-to-end connectivity opportunities. To end up with some closing notes, I would like to mention that, as you know, for all the ecosystem players, it is very important to work with the policymakers and regulators. It is not only cliche, but for 25, 30 years, we have seen this, the impact of this with the collaboration between the industry stakeholders and the regulator. On the other hand, building the state-of-art infrastructure is key to achieve the digital transformation and to improve our region as a global connectivity hub. And another key point is that achieving the wholesale transformation, as we mentioned, from 1.0 to 2.0, as we see a lot of focus from several telecom operators partnering with several OSS, BSS vendors. This is another key item that will be important for all the ecosystem players. So I'd like to thank you and continue with our panel discussion. So thanks again for all the panelists. As you know, our concept is the wholesale industry at the global and regional level, considering the digital transformation. So I would like to start with Edwin. And with Edwin, I'd like to continue. And how do you see, considering the transformation of wholesale ecosystem, wholesale telecom sector, the current and future challenges and investment opportunities in the short term?
Tolga, yes. I think we are in the midst of a transformation, and I think the Zain Omantel example, the combination that consolidation is key for the future to survive. We can't, let's say, continue as individual operators without looking at your neighbors left and right. And you see also that technology is not always creating more revenue. If you look at VoLTE, for instance, everybody is discovering 4 years ago already, when 4G was introduced, that at a certain moment, let's say the migration to VoLTE will bring decreasing revenues. And everybody is waking up. How are we going to compensate that? How are we going to find a solution? We found the gap, SMS A2P. And then suddenly we see a significant boom in SMS traffic, but we also see crazy behavior in the market. We see overcommitments, we see prepayments, we see trashing of traffic, we see kinds of generating traffic on SMS side. So we are, let's say, in a constant move, in a wave where we apparently do not learn from the past. Let's say we were facing the same challenges and issues in the voice environment, with generated traffic, with A-number manipulation. And I think that is what we need to learn for the future. I think transformation is key. Will there be digitization? Will there be, let's say, new identity services? Will there be artificial intelligence? Yes, all those key components will contribute towards the future and towards the survivability of what you call wholesale 2.0.
Thank you, Edwin. So, Maxim, also, would you like to talk about short-term challenges and investment opportunities?
Yeah, good morning. I think that the short term is quite not good enough, like the horizontal thinking of wholesale, because wholesale is definitely not short term, because in wholesale, selling short term means that I go to the stage and then just, okay, so what do you need? Okay, so I need this, okay, and go and then resell it, etc., or maybe build it quickly, etc. When it comes to strategic thinking, it's like it's definitely should go beyond horizon, and then in here. So I strongly believe that the industry itself, the transformation definitely it's multidimensional. It's technology, it's geography, it's also, you know, how world is changing because we cannot ignore it. Yeah. And also it's about cooperation and collaboration between different countries, between people, and between market players. I'm talking about the wholesale players in particular. What in Virgin's one of the slides, I guess it was one of the messages was the openness. Yeah. And I really love this idea of open networks, which is getting traction it's already got traction in submarine. And I do expect that it should happen. It will happen very soon, sooner or later in terrestrial too, because what is the difference between submarine and terrestrial networks is that, you know, you see a lot of submarine networks has been constructed already, is being constructed. So it's like if you look at the submarine network map or globe, etc., you couldn't imagine how the globe can breathe, you know, at least like everywhere, the cable, every sea, like and more and more and more. And the situation on the terrestrial is completely different. Yeah. It's just submarines, they're embracing continents, embracing countries. But, you know, the question, why is not the trend on the terrestrial side, on the, you know, and my thinking is that this is because of the way how market has been developed, has been built, and actually the approach, the paradigm of transit countries, which is based on, which was based, hopefully, on the, I name it barrier thinking. Okay, so I have a territory and I have to sell this territory. Okay, especially in some countries, including ourselves, by the way. And I do believe that what actually we also are doing in our country is if we open this, if we can transmit from, let's say, capacity-based or very classical capacity-based business models to fiber-based, to open cable system, terrestrial and plus hybrid terrestrial and submarine again. So back to your presentation, I think for sure it will transform, let's say, fat margin for few into the benefit for society for more people. I agree that it will for sure. So it will cannibalize some margin, etc. It may reduce some numbers and on the short term, but for sure this is exactly the short-term opportunity to make more sustainable, more open, if you will, and more development motivation environments. In particular, so let's say in our case, what we do already, so we started to build the big pipe terrestrial cable, and actually not for the sake of selling capacity, but for the sake of selling fibers. It's a purely open construction. So we lay fibers, we just give the possibility for everyone to come by, etc., and use it. So the way they really want this to be. And I strongly believe that Middle East is one of the best region in the world to develop and exploit this idea, and very much looking forward for the next years this to be developed. Yeah.
Thank you, Maxim. And Virginia, if you like that on the challenges and investment opportunities.
Yeah, actually, just to elaborate on what Maxim said, the reason why the Middle East is very well placed, I think, in the wholesale market, it's the fact that in other pieces of the world, take Europe as an example, there are a lot of consolidation right now in terms of who is consolidating and who will be the consolidator. Or who will be consolidated. Here in the region, it's different. You're building the ecosystem from the subsea, but also now, of course, terrestrial. And I think it's about building now the right partnerships to connect the world with other players in Europe, in Asia, and also in the US. And I think that's why this is a time aspect, because openness still already exists in the terrestrial. So I'm not very concerned about the fact that the networks, the technology will not allow the global wholesale market to evolve. Where I'm worried is about the fact that some players and the hyperscalers, the web scalers, they are going fast. So we need to make sure that we capture, especially with AI coming, we are capturing the time to market. And that's about building the right partnerships and the right ecosystems. And of course, from our side, we need to equip with the right technology behind the scene to make that happen. And automation will help a lot, because we will be able also to, from an end-to-end perspective, to automate and provision from an end-to-end in a multi-vendor environment. Because let's be honest, we have to be in a multi-vendor environment, or a multi-vendor, also multi-service provider environment. So that's why I'm positive, but of course we have challenges in terms of timing, I think. And
yeah. Thank you, Virginia. As you rightly said, with GSMA Open Gateway initiative that we see, so this multi-vendor environment is becoming more a reality. So I'd like to continue with Johan. Johan, as we see this transformation initiatives and trends, how do you see the new corporate strategies, structures or models reshaping this total wholesale business?
Thanks you. I think the answer is quite well connected to what Virginie has just said, but maybe I'll take a step back first. Essentially, wholesale used to be about large wholesale operators selling voice, selling data to smaller ISPs, to smaller players. So that used to be really the name of the game. Now what's happened is that there's a new type of players which has come in, which has tremendous demand for volumes, for capacity, and these are the hyperscalers, wave scalers, however we call them. And those players in other parts of the world, they essentially went about deploying their own infrastructure. They're from the US. In the US, they deployed their own fibers. They deployed their own cables. In Europe, it was an open environment. They deployed their own infrastructure, likewise. In the region here, that's not really as simple. In the region here, you actually, can't lend your cable, or you can't just, deploy your fiber. You have to partner with a local licensee. So that's related to the regulatory and licensing environment, which basically gives more leeway to the local players to kind of, rebalance the power with the hyperscalers. And those hyperscalers, what do they want? Basically, they're thinking that, and they're seeing tremendous growth in the cloud, in terms of cloud services, in terms of digitalization, in terms of AI, and they also want to create switching hubs to interconnect the different parts of their network across the globe. So really, what we see is that the Middle East here, at this specific point in time, has a great opportunity to work with these players. And indeed, it is about finding the right kind of win-win partnerships with them in order to give, but also receive as an operator, finding the right partnership model, the right business models. And there's a multiple set of different parts of that. And also bringing the value of these cloud services, these lower latencies, here to the region, right? Instead of always having to essentially use the services which are outside the region and creating latency and so on. So this is a lot of what we see as the new strategies, the new business opportunities for local players here. And a lot of that will revolve around, in a in an environment where the regulation still leaves a lot of power to the operators, the local licensees, to those international zones, to those transit zones, to essentially articulating the landing and termination of cables with those transit zones, which are also spreading across the region. And that's really going to be the name of the game, because at the end of the day, all this connectivity need to get to a data center, need to be interconnected, need to be switched between the different players. And that could be in those islands, these international zones, these transit zones. So that, I think, is a key part that we see for the future of the region.
Thank you. Thank you, Johan. And Thomas, how would you like that?
Is this on? Yes, it is. So I think talking largely about the global subsea network that we are seeing, I think we have to take a step back and look at the capacity. You talked about the global subsea network probably extending much, much faster than what we're seeing terrestrially. And I think if you look at the capacity growth that we have seen from a subsea perspective globally over the last decade, it's around 30% on a global average basis. There are regions where the percentage has been higher, but globally we are talking a 30% annual compound growth rate in subsea. That has largely in the last years been driven by the hyperscalers, as we have talked about. One of the reasons probably is that if you look at a subsea cable, it is actually quite a lot easier than building terrestrially. As long as you stay in international waters, it's UNCLOS, it's pretty regulated or non-regulated. You can pretty much do what you want. And you only need to find partners when you actually want to land your cable. Lastly, the subsea play these days is about connecting data center to data center. So where the data centers will be built, that's where the subsea network will be built, largely speaking. The increase is being seen. We're seeing cables being bigger and bigger, or the capacity running in these cables being bigger and bigger to meet the demand that we are seeing globally. Obviously, Middle East region is positioned geographically very, very nicely. It's well positioned for everything that comes out of East Africa. It's very well positioned in the middle of the Asia to Europe route, which puts the Middle East and particularly Oman, as we've seen with all of the recent cables being built, all of them pretty much are landing in Oman now, which gives Oman a very, very nice opportunity forward looking for what's happening in the global subsea network.
Thank you, Thomas. So Sohail, I would like to continue with you now, as we already discussed the submarine cables. So how do you see starting from global trends? How do you see the global trends in the subsea systems? And looking at our region, how do you see the challenges and opportunities we see in our region?
Thank you, Tolga. So the global trends in submarine industry, I think we're all talking about the same thing. The investors in submarine cables have changed from operators to hyperscalers, the web scalers. I don't see British Telecom and Telefonica investing in submarine cables. But yes, in Middle East, we are still investing. All the Middle Eastern countries, operators, we are investing because for them or for anyone to land a cable system in our countries, they need a license. And we are the licensee. They need an infrastructure, which is already there with the licensees. They needed data centers, which we are building now. Right? So the global trend in submarine industry, which most probably in the next 5 to 10 years will be mainly driven by the hyperscalers. And there is a reason. And I think it's important for us to talk about the reason. What's happening in this industry is that the hyperscalers are moving their content closer to the operators into the countries. Today in Oman, we have Google sitting over here, Facebook sitting over here and serving the whole region. Amazon is sitting over here. Oracle and few other content players like Akamai and everyone is sitting in Oman. Which means what? Which means that the traffic of Oman doesn't go out of Oman. It is served from Oman. So who needs these submarine cable systems that we are building today? We have 15 submarine cable systems with Omantel. We have our partner from Ooredoo, who they have already landed 2 cable systems. So we are talking about 17 cable systems in Oman. All this capacity is used by these hyperscalers. Today, we are talking about around close to 35 terabits of capacity going out of Oman by the hyperscalers, not by the operators. Right? Why? Because they're serving the whole region. So this trend is going to go. We're talking about any submarine cable system that takes around, if we start discussions today, it will be around 4 to 5 years of a time frame where the cable system will be up and running. So today we talk about 2025, we are talking about 6 new submarine cable systems coming into the region. 2026, which we have already started discussions that by 2026, we should be signing a new submarine cable system that are mainly connecting Singapore to, let's say, to Europe, going through our region, landing in few of our countries where we are investing. So mainly driven by hyperscalers. Now, what are the challenges? I think there are a lot of challenges. So some of them we highlighted. I think geopolitical situation.
Yeah.
We have issues and Eritrea, other waters. We are not able to cross the cable systems over there. Strait of Hormuz can be an issue. We have single point of failure in crossing when we are going to Europe. People are creating new routes, but then again, this is not something that easily comes. There are a lot of challenges when you're building a submarine cable systems. Starting from a submarine cable, by the time you have landed the cable system, you become a foreign, diplomat, because you have to meet every country and go all across. So geopolitical issues are there. I think there are in some countries, we also have still regulatory issues that are, I would say, holding. One of the example I would give is India, the largest country in our region, the largest population, but the rules and regulation of the government of India is not allowing India to become the hub, right? So again, without going into detail about whether, but there are regulation issues. I think one of the challenge that I would like to also highlight, and we've been working on it as Omantel, as Zoe, and few other partners like Asyad and others. And the biggest challenge that we see moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years is the maintenance of these submarine cable systems. There are only 35 ships in the world that are serving as a maintenance ships for these cable systems. On average, every ship life is around 30 to 35 years. All these 35 ships in the world, except for few, 2 or 3 new, all of them are 27 years on average age. People are not investing in new ships. And problem that we see in the next coming few years is that we will not have maintenance companies repairing and deploying these submarine cable systems. And this is something that we have started talking about ourselves, ITCA group, Asyad group. We are working on something. Hopefully we will come up with something to do it. But if you look at our region, we have only one company, a company which is owned by Etisalat, doing a marvelous job, but they are only one. Not that they're not doing a good job, but they are under pressure. They are under so much demand in the market that they don't have time to repair those cables. And on average today, a cable system in our region goes down. It can be between 15 to 25 days to repair that cable, right? So I think these are few of the challenges that we are seeing in the subsea industry. On the terrestrial routes, I agree with you. Subsea deployment is easier than a terrestrial route because as Zoe, we are deploying a network which is connecting Oman all the way to Saudi Arabia and then going into Jordan and then Syria and Palestine and as well as to Lebanon, connecting Iraq, Jordan and Kuwait. It's not easy because again, the regulation does not understand the cross connectivity into the borders. We still have to add and drop at every border, whereas this is not the best solution, right? I would like to only highlight that what you were saying, that prices are going down in wholesale industry. Regine, it's important for you to understand because we will be coming to you for discounts. But this is also a big challenge. These hyperscalers, who are well-respected partners of all of ours, they have a team of negotiators. Most of the designation, if you look at, they are all negotiator, lead negotiator, head of negotiation. They negotiate. They bring the prices down to a level which is touching now the cost. So the problem is that investors, be it a infrastructure fund or be it a telecom operator, they are now hesitating to invest because it's coming very, very close to the cost. So these are few of the challenges that I believe are already there.
Thank you, Sohail. So as we have around 12 minutes, there are 3 more topics I would like to discuss. One is about the LEO satellites with Johan, about the SATCOM. We would like to continue.
Sure. So I think I'll be quick on this one. So as Analysis Mason, so before we recently acquired a company called NSR, which is specialized in the space sector, what we saw is that there was not much interest by terrestrial operators to get involved in the space. So and what's happened is that we've seen over like very recently that there's 3 major events which have actually changed the situation. One, Starlink, by by Elon Musk launching their broadband service, and then we started having some of our clients asking us, "Oh, is there a threat on our fiber business? Can they provide the same services from space?" 2 was the announcement of direct to device. So by Apple with a sort of a vendor-led approach, and then by T-Mobile with a mobile led approach and different approaches to spectrum and so on and so forth. But that was the second big event, which was, oh, maybe this is actually something that has an impact on the industry. And third aspect was the constant push of the satellite industry. And I say push, there's a little bit of lobbying, right? But push, let's say, to be involved in the terrestrial technologies. So in particular, in release 17 of the 3GPP, there's a better technological, well, let's say, development on the roaming between satellite and terrestrial services and all that. So since then, it's just really become a real topic. And what we strongly believe is that today, telcos need to have a space strategy. Which is about defining the ecosystem, which is about finding the sources of value for instance, better coverage. And you can think, for instance, I was looking at a number in a country like France, which is, developed countries, but reasonably big, not as big as Oman, but reasonably big. The end users, about 2.17% of their time are outside coverage. It's small, but it's still incremental revenue that mobile operators with a space strategy can actually address. And there's a lot of things around, so direct to device, around IoT. And IoT, there's a lot of development with IoT in partnership between the terrestrial and non-terrestrial technology, and also for government services. So this is a big area, and which will, as it develops, also have an impact on the wholesale industry.
Thank you. And Virginie, just let's talk about the business automation in wholesale industry and the security challenges. So how do you see the key trends in the business automation for wholesale sector?
Thanks, Tolga. I think we touched a little bit and a lot on some challenges. One, when we are talking about regulatory, I think we touched the notion of sometimes geopolitics and government regulatory. What we can touch as well is also the data privacy, which is a trend which is important, of course, because we are talking about the protection of data, personal data, so it's paramount. But from a networking perspective and a wholesale market perspective, that creates additional operational or even additional costs. We said it, we're talking about big investment in the wholesale, whether it's subsea, but also terrestrial networks. So a lot of infrastructure will be invested. But sometimes because of data privacy, we will have to think differently, because from a NOC perspective, in inter-countries, we will not be able to have multiple NOCs because we need to have the privacy respected regarding the regulatory, and that's additional cost. And we are working on it. Of course, automation will help. Definitely the notion of orchestration as well. So that's why I believe the software will be an important component in the wholesale evolution as well, as you said, it 2.0.
Yeah.
Tolga.
With AI capabilities, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Virginie. And Edwin, as we see all these technologies evolving, reshaping, how do you see they are establishing a new kind of products and services?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we have already discussed and touched base on multiple topics like artificial intelligence and how do we convert that and implement it in our day-to-day processes. Good example, for instance, is make it applicable in the customer service environment, whereby a bot will answer or will respond in your native language, and that will give a significant, let's say, advanced process, a better trouble ticket, a better understanding what's going on. Identity services is another topic which will become very important for the future. But at the same time, there's also a warning. New services or new technology will not directly imply higher revenues. And that's a big issue we are facing. And we see 5G investments worldwide. At this moment, only 40 mobile network operators are fully equipped on 5G. 5G SA, 5G NSA. And we all know what happened with VoLTE. Declining revenues at the same time and huge investments in the past. So there are, let's say, a lot of examples of new technologies, and we can translate it all into new products and new services. At the same time, let's say I'm responsible for top line, generating cash and generating EBITDA. So I have to make choices, and that's not always easy.
Right. And Sohail, how would you like to add for new kind of products and services developed?
Telco, from the wholesale point of view, I think I fully agree with Edwin. New products are coming, right? We are talking about, on the mobile side, we are talking about 5G SA now, right? And on the enterprise side, the teams are have use cases where we're deploying 5G SA only for a specific, let's say, customers. I think the new product from the wholesale point of view, keeping in mind the 5G networks and 5G SA, is the clearinghouse for those 5G, small 5G SA networks, either be it a data clearing or the financial clearing. One of the new product that we are working on, and Muzammil is also here, is the roaming. Today, if you look at how many of our customers are roaming on VoLTE, when we are talking about 4G as a data, yes, it is there. But VoLTE voice, it's merely few operators in the world who are interconnected to each other. So this is another product which we are working on not only the VoLTE voice, but also now on 5G. So 5G, obviously NSA is already there, but on 5G SA, roaming with 5G SA is also something that is a new product. When it comes to the networks on the submarine side and terrestrial, obviously there are a number of new products coming in, be it Ethernet services or a mesh network. We are deploying networks, and all those terrestrial and fiber networks now are becoming one network. The end users, who can be an ISP or who can be an operator in a country, they don't want to end up knowing that we are only going on a submarine cable system. Once the cable goes down, their full connectivity goes down. So the new product that we are coming up with in wholesale is basically a mesh network, which is a mix of terrestrial and multiple submarine cables, providing end-to-end full mesh connectivity. So these are the few products I believe that we are bringing in. I would also like to add one point to Johan on the LEO satellite. I think in this region, specifically talking about Middle East, if you look at Starlink, because they are the one who have started operating, they've got a license in Oman from the regulator. They've got a license in Qatar. They've got a license in Bahrain. They've launched the services during the World Cup in Qatar. We set up their first international gateway of Starlink in Oman in 2021. They're about to launch their service, or hopefully they will launch their service. But as telecom operator, we also need to know that these gateways and the POPs that they are deploying, they need internet from us.
Yes.
When it comes to backhaul, they need our network connectivity. Even when it comes to our mobile to direct to satellite connectivity, they need our spectrum. Regulator is not offering mobile spectrum to the satellite operator, but we as mobile operator can provide our spectrum to them to create a hotspot or an area where it's underserved or we don't have those networks. So we see it as a complementing each other.
Yes.
We don't see it as a competition in the market.
Yeah. We see some examples in the US also with these partnerships, right?
Yes, and I think it's not a surprise. They have launched now in 60 countries. They've got 2 million subscriber base as of today, right? So you're talking about 30,000 subscriber sort of per country, which is not huge.
Right.
So it's a niche market. They're complementing the mobile operators, and this is how we see them.
Right. Thank you. And Thomas, any final thoughts on the new products and services or any other topic?
Sure. I don't think we can talk about building bigger and bigger pipes in the subsea world without talking about sustainability and energy. One of the biggest hurdles we are seeing for both data centers and for subsea systems, and I'm sure for terrestrial networks, I don't know much about that, is sustainability. We are becoming, as an industry, more and more power hungry. There's a bigger and bigger requirement for green energy. That doesn't bode very well with the other big challenge we have, which is we want data centers to be close to population centers, which is generally not where we find the green energy. So I think if we talk about opportunities and trends in the subsea market, we are seeing an increased focus on power per bit, price per bit, space per bit. All of these three things need to go down, and that's what the industry is focusing on. At the same time, as we want to increase the capacity per cable, we need power per bit, space per bit, and cost per bit to come down.
Right. Thank you. And Maxim, any final thoughts as we are at the end?
When it comes to new services, new models, so we definitely extensively discussed everything, but what I really strongly believe soon is what will happen soon is that the fiber, I'm strongly believer is in a fiber as an international product to be introduced, sooner or later, because it will definitely attract more businesses, more people, and it's much better to attract people than to push people to some direction. So I'm strongly believer in this principle. And as a next development stage would be just down to the services in particular. I'm strong believer in like services like bandwidth on demand, like elastic bandwidth, etc., so that you can just be as flexible as possible. That would be another pillar for the future platform for wholesale, but for that definitely. The matter is for both actually regulation, like openness, and actually smart regulation, what I would say, and software and settlements. So these are like the pillars we definitely the industry will be concentrated on. Yeah,
thank you.
That was
Thank
my
you,
point,
Maxim.
yeah.
We are at the top of our, but please, Sohail, with some final thoughts if you share with us.
I think we look at the overall wholesale industry and the telecom industry together. What we've seen in COVID was a surge of demand of around 35 to 40% within the region. I think we were all blessed because we were in the region, we were all deploying 5G at that time during 2019-2020. So most of us had upgraded our fiber networks or the terrestrial fiber networks to the nodes and others. We were preparing it for 5G, not for a COVID. But I think COVID, it helped the whole thing that we were preparing. It helped through the COVID. What we have seen, and I'm talking as a wholesale operator, not only from Oman, but from Kuwait and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and everywhere else, we see this demand is not going down. Every year on year, we are looking at around 30% CAGR from coming out of Kuwait, coming out of Jordan, coming out of Saudi Arabia. And when you talk about a company or an operator who is either a challenger or a second operator, they are keep on growing. Fixed networks, people are deploying. We have Oman Broadband and the likes of Oman Broadband in other countries who are deploying fiber network, and then operator like ourselves, they're using it. So there is a tremendous growth of around 30% CAGR that is growing within the region. Terrestrial networks, submarine, everything is there. But I think that one thing that is missing and that is most probably required is partnerships. Right. We are not partnering. I'll give you an example. I give this example in most of the places. While we were investing in AE1 as a submarine cable system, we invested as a consortium, it was around $800+ million. At the same time, most of the regional countries with the same different operators in every country was investing in CME5. At the same day, at the same time, we landed those cable systems. And we invested $1.6 billion in 2 cable systems, whereas we could have partnered in the country. Yeah. And utilize those services. I'm not talking about Oman or any other country. I'm talking about generally in Oman. In fact, Omantel and Ooredoo partnered on A1, and we said it's an open access to each other, and we agreed. But partnership is missing in this industry, and we believe that the name of the game for the next few years is partnership. If we partner with each other, we'll have a more resilience network and much more capacities.
Thank you, Sohail. So I would like to take a round of applause for all the panelists. Thank you very much.